Hello, everybody. I'm back again. It's Sabina Miller. This program is for seniors, about seniors. I am senior, my guests aren't, but I have two fascinating guests today. And one is the town clerk for the town of North Hempstead, and the other is the receiver of taxes for the town of North Hempstead. And you may think, yes, I write checks to one and the other one just keeps records of things, but they actually have fascinating jobs. I would like to introduce Charles Berman and Wayne Wink. And would you, Wayne, tell us a little about you before we go into what you do?
Sure. Thank you, Sabina. It's always good to see you, and it's great to be here. As the town clerk, I get to wear many, many hats. I am the clerk to the town, which means all the records and whatnot, which makes me the records management officer of the town. I am also the registrar of vital statistics, which I think is something of particular interest to your viewers, whether it be birth certificates, death certificates, marriage licenses, things of that nature. I am the marriage officer for the town, which, if you're ever interested, Sabina, I can always marry you. And I am also the clerk to the town board. So I get to wear a number of different hats in my day-to-day affairs as the town clerk, and I look forward to talking a little bit more about them with you.
Charles?
Yes.
You prefer Charles or Charlie?
Most people call me Charlie.
Okay, or Mr. Berman. Would you tell us about the tax?
Well, I'm the receiver of taxes for the town of North Hempstead, and that essentially means that I'm responsible for collecting the tax warrant for the school taxes and the general taxes. The school taxes also include, in most districts, the libraries. The general taxes of the county and the town taxes, and also, we have a lot of special districts. So we have special district taxes on that general bill as well. There's a difference between actually creating the taxes and collecting them. Creating the taxes is a step level. In other words, the districts create their own budgets, and within those budgets are tax levies. And essentially, once they pass their tax levies, all that information goes to Nassau County, to the Department of Assessment. And they take their assessment roll, which is the value that they assign to the properties, and they take the actual tax levies, and then they create tax rates. That's how rates are created. Once that happens, then they're able to create tax rolls. And then those tax rolls come to me, and we actually do the billing and the collection.
See, what I don't understand is, I always thought your taxes were based on your income, but you make it sound like that's
income taxes.
Federal income tax, but right. School taxes, property taxes, that's based on the community's need for the money.
Well, it's based on, correct. What I do is property taxes, not income taxes. So it really doesn't have anything to do with someone's income or even, their ability to pay the taxes. It's basically a tax on their property. So the property is assessed. Each property is assigned a value by Nassau County. If it's a residential property, it's assigned a market value. And the taxes are basically apportioned based upon the assessments. So each district has its own tax levy, and then that levy is apportioned between, number one, different classes of property, and then number two, among the properties. So, but it is really a function of what the value of the property is, what the assessment is. So, I'll explain that a little bit more, as we go.
I was just told recently, and tell me if this is the truth, that if you are a veteran or the widow of a veteran, you get a 10% discount in your taxes?
Well, you do. You are entitled to a veteran's exemption. You certainly are if you're a veteran. There are actually 3 different types of veterans exemptions. The oldest one being the eligible funds veterans, which was created for the World War II veterans and then the Korean War veterans. That was based upon a formula for how much money they actually received when they were in the service. And they were able to like increase the value of the exemption as time went on by doing certain things. They phased that exemption out in the 1960s, and they replaced it with an exemption called the Alternative Veterans Exemption. And that basically gives the veterans 15% discount on their general taxes and a 25% discount if they were a combat veteran. So it's either 15 or 25. They actually now have something called a Cold War Veterans Exemption, which is relatively new. For veterans who served, you had to have been on active duty, but for veterans who served during peace times, which were in between all the wars that we fought. In the past, those veterans weren't entitled to veterans exemptions. Now they can get this Cold War exemption, and that's also 15%, but it's the way the law is written now, that one is only for a 10-year term.
When I had a house on the South Shore, if you were a senior citizen and did not have children in the school system, you didn't pay school taxes. Do we have anything like that over here?
No. The only properties that are exempt from taxes are what's called wholly exempt properties, and those are like religious institutions or government buildings, things like that.
Wayne, would you give us a little bio, where you came from and what your office does?
Well, I grew up in Uniondale, not far from here, close to the South Shore. And I went to Hofstra University as an undergrad. I went to St. John's Law School as a lawyer. I've practiced law now for just about 20 years. And I started my career in public service as an assistant to the town board. I became an assistant to the county legislature. Then when I graduated law school, I became deputy counsel to the Democratic minority in the legislature at that time. Then when we became the majority, I was deputy majority counsel. Left that to go into private sector. About a year or so later, I was given the opportunity to run for the town board for the town of North Hempstead. I was elected, and I served about 5.5 years until I was then elected in a special election to fill a county legislative seat. So I served in the Nassau legislature for over 6 years. And then in 2013, partly as a result of redistricting and partly as a result of looking to come up with new opportunities to provide public service, I was given the opportunity to run for town clerk. And I was elected, and I've been in that office ever since. So I'm in my 3rd year of a 4-year term, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. It's a very fulfilling job. I get to do a lot of nice things. I never have to worry about raising taxes or collecting those taxes. I can marry people. I can provide birth certificates, dog licenses, all things that make people happy. Only death certificates are the only downside to it.
Well, the reason that I became interested in the running of the town of Great Neck is we were at a lunch meeting and I saw you and I said, wow, I don't think I ever brought, it's 17 years, I don't think I ever, that you have a copy of my husband's death certificate. I'll have to find it, make a copy, and bring it up. And you said, I have a copy. I said, that's even worse. I gave you a copy and I forgot? And you said, no. I said, so where did you get it? You said funeral homes and cemeteries send them to us, and that started the whole fascination with how does the town of North Hempstead, other than Judy Bosworth, how does it run? And
right.
I'm a visual person. When you said town clerk, I visualized a big room with maybe 20 desks and a young girl sitting at each desk. And you stood in the front and said, stop talking, work a little faster.
Now, well, that may be a small part of my job, but the bigger part of my job is ensuring that the records of the town are maintained and managed properly so that they're accessible, whether it be under the Freedom of Information Act or for family members of those who are either deceased or for their children, So it really is a multifaceted job. And while we do have lots of people running around doing this job, to support me, ultimately, I need to make sure that we are handling documents properly, that we are providing the services that everyone's entitled to, and that we maintain those documents for posterity. So we have documents, we are responsible for documents from as recently as this morning. If a building permit was issued, we have to make sure that is properly maintained so that it's available to the public. And we go all the way back to the 1640s, I believe it is, when the Dongan Patent first created what is now the town of North Hempstead. So every document in the last almost 400 years that's been generated by and for the town of North Hempstead is my responsibility.
Does the same question for Charlie, although I think I know the answer to the question. Does the computer make your life easier? The
computer makes preservation of our records so much easier. The Dongan patent, obviously, the original is the important one. The town of Hempstead always complains to me because when we broke away from the town of Hempstead to become North Hempstead, we happen to have the original Dongan patent. As much as the town of Hempstead likes to think that they have everything, they only have a copy of the patent which created them and us. So I never forget to remind them of the fact that we hold the original. Yeah. But really, when it comes down to it, whether it be town board minutes or birth and death records, having the computer really provides us access to hundreds of years ago in no small measure. And it provides us the opportunity to be able to quickly not only find the document, but deliver it to the person requesting it.
Charlie, would you tell us about the STAR program?
Yeah, the STAR program is the New York State School Tax Relief Program, and it's been around since the mid-90s. So essentially there are two STARs. One is the basic STAR. That's for residential properties. It has to be the person's primary residence, and they can't be earning more than $500,000 a year in income. If they meet those two requirements, then they're eligible to apply for a STAR. You can only have one STAR exemption.
But if they're making more than $500,000 a year,
you're not eligible.
Exemption.
You're not eligible for the basic STAR.
Makes sense
the
to
average
me.
basic STAR in North Hempstead's $1,000, so it's a very valuable exemption. They also have a STAR exemption for seniors called the Enhanced STAR, and that's actually worth double the STAR. So the average basic Enhanced STAR exemption is $2,000, and in that case, the property owner, one, if it's a couple, and one has to be at least 65 the year that the exemption takes place, is enforced.
Are you not a senior till you're 65? I thought it was 60.
According to STAR law, for STAR, you have to be 65. For AARP, you have to be much younger, right? But for STAR, when I came into office, I took a look, and I've been in this office since 2010. I briefly was in the office in 2003, but when I came into this office, I came over from Nassau County. I was at the Department of Assessment for 6 years. So I worked closely, with exemptions, because it's the county that administers property tax exemptions. So one of the first things I did was to take a look to see how many enhanced STAR exemptions there were in North Hempstead. And I saw that, going back 5 years, is about 5,000. And they really set out, we have a very large population of seniors in North Hempstead, as you know. And they really set out to, find people who are eligible for Enhanced STAR who didn't have it.
Wow.
The primary reason was because they got Basic STAR back in the mid-90s, and they never reapplied for their Enhanced STAR when they turned 65. But we went out, we did seminars all over the town, and over the course of several years, we were able to increase that to over 7,500. So we now have over 7,500 seniors that now have Enhanced STAR.
When you say you went out, you did seminars, one of the reasons for this program is I'm telling seniors, because I'm what I call a senior. It means I'm not new.
Right.
And people say to me, where are you running to now? And I say, to live my life. you have to get up, you have to get out, and I go to the butcher, I go to the dry cleaner, I go to the drugstore. Are seniors going to seminars?
Yes, yes. I do a lot of workshops, and primarily, the audience is seniors, and they
I
do
guess when it
come.
comes to
I do
money.
them in libraries all over the town, senior centers, and senior clubs that we have in the town. Another important thing to mention about Enhanced Star is there's also an income test. So it's not just that the applicant has to be 65. They also can't be earning jointly more than $86,000 a year based on last year's income, 2015 income. That number increases every year slightly, so I have to remember which year. But the most recent income level is $86,000. And when they're talking about income, they're talking about adjusted gross income. So they're not talking about gross, they're talking about adjusted gross income. It's line 37 on the tax return, on the federal tax return. And the law allows you to deduct any taxable IRA distributions. So they could find that on line 15B of their tax return. So it's really just looking at your federal tax return and looking at two lines, line 37, subtracting line 15B.
But
If you're under 86,000 and you're 65, you're eligible to apply for
when you
Enhanced Star.
say you look at your tax return, you always think most people are like you. For roughly 40 years, maybe only 35, I've had the same accountant. I come into him with a pile of papers, and he does my taxes.
Right.
So, and then, I get the papers. I don't read them. I pay quarterly estimates. I have little coupons. I mark on my calendar on this day, send it in with a check. People read their tax returns.
Yes, yeah. I'm sure you have an excellent accountant,
Right.
and I'm sure that after he files, you get a hard copy of your tax return, which you probably put away in a
Oh, I
very
do.
safe place.
I do. It's
but you could
filed.
pull it out, and you could look at last year's return. You're going to have a number on line 37. That's the bottom of the front page. That's your adjusted gross income. So for Enhanced Star, that's a very important number if you're applying.
When it comes to saving money, everybody
Right.
reads their tax returns.
Right.
So.
And I have a question for you. Since you keep all these records, marriage certificates, birth certificates, death certificates, do people come in and want a copy?
Absolutely.
Why?
You'd be amazed how many people come in each and every day. For example, anyone who's on a public pension, or even some private pensions, health insurance programs, as retirees. Recently, one of the state health insurance companies requested that all of their members who receive a family health insurance benefit, that they need to reprove the birth of their children, or that their children are still dependents to them,
Wow.
as well as proving that their marriage still exists. You'd be amazed how many people came in to request a copy of their marriage license, the marriage certificate, because people put it away. They don't need to use it. Once they file jointly, once they have joint bank accounts, once everything is in the married couple's names, most people don't even think twice about a marriage certificate. But when an insurance company or a life insurance company wants proof that you were married at the time of your death, one of the things they want to see is your marriage certificate. Those are all housed. If you got your license in the town of North Hempstead, those are all housed in my office. Doesn't matter where you were married. You could be married in upstate New York, in Queens, in Manhattan, out in Montauk. As long as you received your license from the town clerk in the town of North Hempstead, whenever that was, that record will be available in my office and will always be available in that office.
Now, see, when I think about you having death certificates, birth certificates, marriage, whatever, and they're all stored there, probably in a room that's like a refrigerator.
You've been to my vault.
Does your building go down 3 floors? I realize they're very thin pieces of paper,
Right.
but
No, our documents, we we have done a lot over the years. My predecessors, over the last 15 years or so, made a great deal of strides in protecting our documents for permanent storage. We do have some original documents in a professional storage facility. Most of our original documents are right there in our building. We have a climate-controlled area for documents that are particularly important and fragile. Like I said, the Dongan patent exists in a climate-controlled area. A number of other of our records are in our basement, and I have very good people who are our records management people, and they ensure that our records are properly maintained, stored properly so that they'll last as long as we need them, which is pretty much forever when it comes to these types of records.
Now, would you tell me when are school and property taxes due?
Well, the school tax bill goes out October 1st, and the first half of that is payable by November 10th without penalty. And then after the school tax goes out in January, the general tax goes out. The first half of general is due February 10th without penalty. Then you get another cycle, and then the second half school is due April 1st, which has to be paid by May 10th without penalty. And then the second cycle for the general, it's due July 1st. It has to be paid August 10th without penalty. So every quarter, there's another property tax due. The only property taxes that we don't deal with in the town of North Hempstead are the village taxes. And you know, there are 31 villages in North Hempstead.
Oh, yeah.
And they all have their own tax departments.
Oh, yeah.
And those village taxes are always due in June. You know, by the beginning of July is the last day to pay. So, you know, I just wanted to mention one other thing about STAR. You asked me about STAR. And the state just changed the STAR law this past spring. And going forward, it's not going to be a STAR exemption anymore for new people, new applicants. They're going to get a STAR credit. So it's going to work differently than it has in the past. So in the past, your STAR exemption basically reduces your taxable value. And, you know, it's on your tax bill. So you can see it. You can see how much you're saving. Going forward, there's not going to be an exemption on your tax bill, but you're going to get a check from the state if you're a new applicant.
Oh, you get a
equal to the
refund?
amount, yeah, like a rebate, equal to the amount of the value of the exemption. So that's now called the STAR Credit Program. It's not an exemption, is it? There's a new program. Anybody who's already in the STAR program that has it on their bill, going forward, they're still in the exemption program. Even for those who have basic STAR who go to enhanced STAR, they will still do it the old way. But for a new applicant, let's say a new homeowner, or if you sell a big house and you buy a co-op or a condo somewhere, then you have to reapply because exemptions are not transferable. For a new applicant, you have to go into the new program. You apply directly at the state, not at Nassau County, and you no longer get the exemption on your tax bill. You're going to get a check from the state. So this is a brand new law, brand new change to STAR. So this is a scoop.
Wow, there's a lot to know, a lot to pay attention to, and I would assume that men take care of the taxes, so it must be nice to just be a wife.
Oh, I think in today's households, I think wives take as much care to pay the taxes as the husbands do.
Well, I don't know.
I see Charlie's lines. I see the lines out the door sometimes when our taxes are due, and it seems to be equally reflective of women and men. So we're all responsible.
So in other words, they can come and pay them in person?
Yes, we do. We get 10,000 walk-ins a year.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. There are 73,000 what they call property parcels in North Hempstead. So each parcel has to pay 4 times a year. It's over 288,000 payments. But, you know, many people, we get probably 100,000 payments by mail. But many people like to come in. We collect taxes all over the town during the collection periods. So we have off-site, you know, we have community collection sites during each cycle. So between those community collection sites and people walking into the town, to town hall to pay at the cashier, it's about 10,000 walk-ins a year.
where do they park?
That's
Very
a great
carefully.
question.
Very
Because,
carefully.
you know, I've been up there, so.
Luckily, they don't all come at the same
At the
time.
same
Although
time.
on the due date and the day before the due date, it's very, very crowded. But we have great traffic control out there.
Right.
We do have personnel from the town. They do a great job. They're with our Department of Administrative Services, and they control the traffic on even those heaviest days.
You know, I think the town of North Hempstead, I'll call it administration, whatever you want to call it, I think it's run beautifully.
We appreciate that.
You know, it's a nice place to live. It looks good. You kind of keep people in line.
You know, we have, I think we have an enviable group of constituents, quite frankly. We are a relatively affluent area, by and large. We are a highly educated area. So our taxpayers and our homeowners are pretty sophisticated people. They understand what we can and what we cannot provide in terms of town services. And I think, generally speaking, they appreciate both what we can provide and they understand what it is we can't do. Speaking of what we can do, I do want to put a little plug in. We're going to scoop my town in that just recently my office has been designated a passport acceptance facility, which is a brand new service that we can provide to town residents. So if you are looking to either create a new passport or renew one, my office will be up and running shortly to allow for that service. And that's, I think, one of the many services that the town provides that may be underappreciated in some areas, but I think it's certainly a service that while you're getting your child's birth certificate or while you're getting a marriage certificate, you can come in and process your passport application as well. I think it really provides a full service operation for my office, and I'm very proud that we're going to be very shortly
That's nice.
unveiling that.
You know, I don't even, that's how old I am. I don't even remember where I went for my passport.
Well, now you know where you can go.
Right, and you do have to renew them every 10 years.
Yep. Yeah.
Believe me when I tell you my passport is dead and it's not going in. Oh, wait a minute. I went to Easter Island. I needed
wonderful.
a passport halfway between Cuba and Chile.
Right.
Or Chile and Tahiti. Wow, okay. I can't imagine that my passport. I guess it's good. Anyway, I'm getting signals that they've had enough of me, and when I go, you go. But I find the running of the town and what you do very interesting, and I thank you for coming up here, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Sabina.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions as a result of this show or otherwise, I encourage people to call our 311 call center, which will provide basic information throughout the town of North Hempstead, whether it's my office, Charlie's, or anywhere in Town Hall, 311 or 869-6311 for more information.
Right. Any questions
you.
about exemptions or how to grieve, your assessment, please call.
Yeah.
You have it. Thank you very much. And goodbye. I'll see you again next month. Hopefully I'll have some more interesting guests for seniors. And you can watch the show in reruns. Until then, thank you. Bye-bye.